Hello and welcome to the 20th day of a 21-day spiritual reset. One of our viewers asked me to elaborate on spirituality. Simply put, spirituality is our search for love and truth through our spiritual dimension. Love is required to know truth, and the knowledge of truth can only be expressed through love. But why our spiritual dimension? Because most people do not realize that we are not material beings trying to have a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a physical material experience. We are made up of two energies, the material and the spiritual. The material energy in us generates the desire for money, sex, and power, and the spiritual energy in us generates the desire for Sat Chit Anand. But it is the spiritual energy, which is the subtler energy, the more powerful energy, through which the material energy can be controlled and regulated. So, that is why we need to explore love and truth through our spiritual dimension. Now, why seek spiritual transformation at all? Now, Krishna in the Mahabharata explained this beautifully to Arjuna. The choice we have is not whether to fight or not to fight, whether to struggle or not to struggle. The only choice we have is to struggle at one level or to struggle at another level. Now, to make this easier to understand, let's take it to the situation of money. Now, those who have no money are consumed by thoughts of money, and those who have a lot of money are also consumed by thoughts of money. Where would you rather be? Where would we rather be? Having the money and thinking about it, or not having the money and thinking about it? The same applies to our spiritual journey as well. No matter which level we are at, we are always trying to learn more and become more spiritual. So ultimately, the struggle is to either to survive, or the struggle is to thrive, or the struggle is to transcend, at which point we don't need to struggle anymore because we are become one with a higher self. The second reason why spiritual transformation is necessary is because we are conflicted beings. We many times we want to do something, but we are not able to do it, or we don't want to do it, but it's almost like we are compelled to do it. And why is that? Because of our vasanas, which we have discussed in many of these videos. These vasanas are our subconscious thoughts, feelings, emotions, and beliefs that drive us. So, part of the spiritual practice is to come in contact with to make contact and become familiar with these vasanas. And so then, and in the process, transform them. Now, what is our spiritual goal? Our spiritual goal is to separate the thinker from the thoughts, or the writer of the code from the code itself, and the code being our subconscious thoughts, feelings, emotions, and beliefs. Only when we are aware that these thoughts, emotions, beliefs are creating our reality, we take back our power and choose the kind of thoughts and beliefs and emotions and feelings to create the reality we want. So ultimately, the goal of spiritual path is freedom, not for ourselves, not freedom for ourselves, but freedom from ourselves, freedom from these controlling thoughts and emotions and feelings that are driving our life, and getting control over these thoughts and feelings and emotions and beliefs. In fact, there's a beautiful Sufi saying that puts the spiritual goal into perfect perspective, because most of the spiritual goals in every religion, or many religion, in Buddhism it's called nirvana, in Hinduism it's called moksha or salvation, is the Sufi saying is, if you die before you die, you won't die when you die. Now, let me say that one more time. Very profound saying. If you die before you die, when you die, you won't die. Now, what dies before you die? Your ego, your limited, small, egoic self. And that is always struggling and feeling powerless. So, if you are able to kill that before you die in this lifetime, you will have no fear of death, because you would have known when your ego dies, you become the Sat Chit Ananda. that I am. You become you one with your higher self, and you realize there is no death. It is just a changing of your consciousness. So spend some time thinking about this very profound saying: if you die before you die, then you won't die. When you die, there will be no fear of death, because what is the self that fears? The egoic self fears death, and you that would have been dead before you actually die. So, how do we, what are the obstacles to a spiritual path or spiritual practices? The biggest obstacle is ignorance or avidya, because we identify with our smaller material self instead of identifying, knowing our true nature, which is our spiritual self, Sat Chit Ananda, that which is truth, that which is awareness, and that which is bliss consciousness. So, the biggest obstacle to our spiritual practices is ignorance, and all these things that we do, chanting and prayers and meditation, is to remove that ignorance, so that we can familiarize and finally come in touch with and connect with our higher self. What does the spiritual what do spiritual practices entail? Most of them, it is basically transforming our entire self, our body, our mind, our intellect, our feelings, our emotions, and our thoughts, integrating them, our subconscious, our conscious, our superconscious. In short, becoming whole and integrated. That is the spiritual path, where we become one unit. Our subconscious, conscious, and superconscious, our body, mind, and intellect becomes one, and we take everything with us, the good, the bad, the ugly, and bring our subconscious into the light, and in the process release ourselves from the clutches of these limiting thoughts and feelings and emotions and beliefs. Now, how do we do that? Mostly, it involves bringing the body, the mind, and intellect into complete stillness, and to a level where you can actually hear a rose petal fall, and you can hear thoughts arising and subsiding, and the silence between the thoughts, so that you realize that you are the thinker, you are the writer of the code. You can pick any thought, any feeling to create whatever you want to create. You are not a victim of your thoughts and feelings, but you are actually the creator of those. And it is in your control and power to create your reality. So, the when many people ask when is the right time to start on spirituality, and how do you start? When the right time is now, exactly the way you are, in this body, in this mind, at this time, in this place, at this level of awareness. All you need is an intention to embark on the spiritual path and to commit yourself to spiritual practices. And what is the path? It is the path of the pilgrim. It's a path of the seeker, not a believer, because all these beliefs and thoughts have held us back. Our religious, cultural, familial conditionings have held us back. It is a process of unlearning and going back to the source and being open, because being open and walking into uncertainty, embracing the unknown, because therein lies all the answers to the mysteries, the key to knowing to the key to life and death and time and timelessness, and walking in there and embracing it with the mind of an innocent person, not ignorant, innocent. Innocence is receptive, open. It's also called the fool's journey. You go out there looking for the real treasure with an open mind, with no conditioning, no preconceived notions and thoughts, and being open to getting the answers. And there's a beautiful saying by Shankaracharya, which I'll share with you. When the awakening happens, the authority of the scriptures ceases their authority. In other words, when the awakening happens, when we awaken to our true self, our spiritual self, our higher self, we will not need to get the answers from outside or seek the answers outside. So when the awakening happens, the scriptures ceases to have authority because we will have the answers within us. It's a beautiful journey. It's uncertain. It is long, and but it's well worth it. So please make an intention, set an intention to set aside some time to dedicate to towards your spiritual practices. And until we meet again, stay safe, be positive, and thank you for watching this video.